Dr. Sam Osmanagich is an internationally recognized expert on pyramids found all over the earth. He has traveled extensively to study these in depth. He is the founder of a pyramid complex in Bosnia, which he has helped to develop and excavate. He has recently conducted some scientific studies and written papers about the discoveries of the different peaks of the Valley of Pyramids in Bosnia and its correlation with the Pleiades star system, the connection to the Fibonacci series, and also has established a remarkable healing park in Bosnia.
You are listening to Exopolitics Today with Dr. Michael Salla, your source for the uncensored truth regarding the human, extraterrestrial, global, and political agenda. Click the like button and subscribe to this channel. And now, here's Dr. Michael Salla.
Well, Sam, I want to welcome you to the show.
Well, thank you, Michael. I'm very happy to be back with you and talk to you about recent updates in the Bosnian Pyramid Project.
Thank you. Well, I had you last on back in October 2023, so it's been 2 years, so people may not remember what we talked about at that time. So why don't you just give a quick summary of your background and what it was that you found in Bosnia that has kind of kept you there all these years studying and helping develop that complex?
Gladly. I've been researching pyramids and megalithic sites all around the planet for the last 40 years. I have concluded that almost everything they teach us about the ancient history is wrong. The origin of man, civilizations, and pyramids. For pyramids, we thought that they were built in Egypt and Mexico, and that's wrong. They were built on all 6 continents. For Egyptian pyramids, we've been programmed to think that they were tombs for the pharaohs. According to the non-scientific Wikipedia, there are 118 pyramids in Egypt. I have personally investigated 155 of them. Not a single one has a mummy. In the 21st century, we need to apply science to answer questions who, when, how, and why built Egyptian pyramids. 20 years ago, and exactly 20 years ago, in 2005, I first visited the town of Visoko in central Bosnia. At that time, I lived in Houston, Texas. And I came to visit the local museum. But what really caught my attention was this. Everybody called it a natural hill because it was covered by soil, vegetation, and forest. I was looking at the shape. What I could see was 4-sided, 4 triangular faces, 4 corners, elevation. And that's exactly what we are looking at right now. I took a compass, and this side in front of us was perfectly oriented to the north, cosmic north. The one to the left, east, to the right, west, in the back, south. Mother Nature does not make hills in the shape of the pyramid with the perfect orientation, but the intelligent hands. And after thousands of years, due to the wind, seeds, rain, we got those structures covered by vegetation. People know about Egypt, which is in a desert, it's different climate, or Peru. However, 250 pyramids in central Chinese province of Shan, or Koh Ker pyramid in Cambodia, or Gunung Padang pyramid in West Java, Indonesia, all covered by forest, and especially case of the Mayan pyramids. My PhD was about the Mayan civilization. I realized that more than 100,000 pyramids in the forests of the Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, and Belize, they are all covered by vegetation. So it was not new to me. So back in 2005, I got permission from the Ministry of Culture of Bosnia to do some preliminary research. Everything I did, there were anomalies. And then I wrote the book I had a big press conference in October of 2005 where I announced the news to the world that first European pyramids have been discovered. I offered the cooperation to the Department of Archaeology at the University of Sarajevo. They rejected. They said they knew every square meter of Bosnia, there were no pyramids. Now, we don't know 90% of what is below the ground. Civilizations would come and go in several thousands or maybe tens of thousands of years. I went to the National Museum, offered them the same thing. They rejected also. They said, we never had pharaohs in Bosnia, therefore we cannot have pyramids. So I realized that I talked to the people who, with their way of thinking, belong to the 19th century. So I established non-profit, non-government foundation under the name Archaeological Park Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun Foundation, and have started archaeological and interdisciplinary scientific research. In the last 20 years, the Bosnian Pyramid Project has become the most active archaeological site in the world, with more than 600,000 hours of excavation and lab analysis. And this is what we have concluded. We have a site with at least 6 pyramids, which we named the Bosnian Pyramids of the Sun, Moon, Dragon, Earth, Love, and the 6th pyramid. We have 2 tumuli. In archaeology, the tumulus is the artificial conical hill, and we have huge network of underground tunnels, passageways, intersections, chambers, underground lakes, and so far we have discovered 7 entrances in such tunnels. So, archaeologically speaking, this is a huge project. And then when we are looking at the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, we can clearly see that it is huge. Now, first we thought that the height is about 200 meters, which is much bigger than the Great Pyramid of Egypt, which is 146. However, when we apply the most modern technology to scan the area, which is called the LiDAR technology, which is widely used in Central America, South America, and Southeastern Asia, we have realized that the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun has a height of 368 meters, which is 2.5 times higher than the Great Pyramid of Egypt. So if we move to the next slide, it will show the title of one of my scientific articles, and you mentioned that there are over 30 of them. And really, in the last 2 years, I have authored and published 33 articles about the Bosnian pyramids and different aspects, archaeological, geophysical, dating, stuff like that, where I argue that, of course, we have artificially made complex. Now, these are double-blind, peer-reviewed, original research articles in 26 international scientific journals. First, we start with the archaeology. So, Michael, we can move to another slide, which will show that after we have uncovered the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun in 20 different sections, which we call the archaeological trenches or sondas, we notice that 1 meter, 3 to 4 feet below the ground, we've been discovering a construction, a structure. Soil, of course, it's very soft, and then we have extremely hard material. So, on the next slide, we can see.
I wanted to ask you right there for
Yes.
a moment, Sam, because you worked on the Mayan pyramids, and many of those are covered over by jungle and plants and growth and so forth. And so here, the pyramid, I mean, this is, like you said, 360 meters tall, and it's all covered. I mean, is that like typical vegetation? Is
That's
that
what
true?
you are looking at, the dark green color, that's a forest. Light green are the bushes. And the forests have been planted since 1960s and 1970s, the pine trees. And once we start removing the forest, the bushes, the soil, and you will see it on the next slide. Exactly, yes, you see 1 meter, 3 to 4 feet below the soil, we've been discovering rectangular blocks. Now, who would expect that below the soft soil there are extremely hard blocks? The usual stratigraphy in Bosnia is you have soil, which is light and dark, and then you have clay, which is light, dark, and gray, and then you would have sandstone, and then gray clay. It is a usual natural stratigraphy, but here you have soft soil, and then immediately after you have those blocks. For example, the long one is 4.5 meter long, or 13 feet. It is 1.5 meter wide, 45 centimeters. It is 8-ton block. It has
And what is that block made of?
This block is, we have analyzed that, and we will see that on the next slide. We took samples from these blocks, and we have analyzed them in 7 different institutes for materials. Politecnico di Torino in Turin, Italy, then Geopolymer Institute in France, Professor Joseph Davidovic, in Czech, in Slovakia, in Bosnia. They all told us that it was artificially made concrete. Some people call it synthetic concrete, some people call it geopolymer concrete. If you have a concrete, then you can get the quality of that concrete. Comparing to our concretes that have a hardness between 10 and 16 megapascals, what we have at the Bosnian pyramid site is much more superior. After we've analyzed 100 samples, we realized that the hardness is from 73 megapascals to 155. This is the best quality concrete ever, which is rather logical. It covers the biggest pyramid ever. And then on the next slide, we will see that so far we have uncovered thousands of tons of the best quality concrete. Now you asked me about what they were made of. Now in this photo we can see that they used pebbles, rocks, and sand. Where did they find that? Well, below the ground, when they were digging the tunnels, they were digging it in the material called conglomerate. And conglomerate consists of pebbles, rocks, and sand. So they had to remove hundreds of thousands of tons of the conglomerate in order to build this vast underground labyrinth. All they needed to make this concrete block was the binding material. Today, we use cement. They did not have a need to use cement because they had even better binder, and that would be...
Oops, you froze again and your image inverted. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. So all they needed was the binder. And as a binder, they used melted clay. Where did they find huge quantities of clay? Every Bosnian hill and the mountain has millions of tons of clay. So all the construction materials they found nearby, within a couple of kilometers. Now, this was much more practical than, for example, the Egyptian pyramid builder. They had to travel from Giza Plateau 869 kilometers to the south to Aswan to cut granite blocks and to move them 869 kilometers to the north. In the case of Bosnia, logistics was much more simpler. We are talking about a couple of kilometers. So this is the construction material. On the next slide, we will see what would happen if we replace...
Before you go on, Sam, I just wanted to ask, so we can see to the top left, like some trees, some vegetation. So those trees, pine trees, were put there in the 1960s.
Correct.
As you were saying. And that's interesting because I did research on the Chinese pyramids, which I know you have as well, and that the Chinese government around that same time began hiding their pyramids by planting forests over them. So it sounds like the Chinese and the Yugoslav governments, being all communists, wanted to hide this from the West, that this was a deliberate policy to hide the discoveries.
In the case of China, you are absolutely right. When I visited Xi'an and their archaeological institute, and I was one of the first foreigners who, had a lecture there ever, they explained me that the reason why they were planted their pine trees in the case of China is really to hide those pyramids. Because back in 1967, the archaeologist who was working on the project, he found some clay tablets that confirmed that the pyramids were 12,800 years old. And it did not really fit what China was saying about their history. They're talking about 5,000 years of history, but really 2,300 years since Emperor Qin united 7 provinces in one country in blood. Emperor Qin was the one who built the Great Chinese Wall, who started the same currency. And now, because of the pyramids, they had to go back for 10,000 years. They're not ready for that. That's the reason why they were hiding them. In the case of Yugoslavia, I think it was different. They simply did not like to see the bare hill, and that's the reason why they were planting the trees. So they did not know that the pyramids were below the soil. And really, only with me coming to Visoko back in 2005, the world realized that we do have an artificial structure. And if we replace the green color of the pyramid, which you have bottom left, this is how it looks like today, with the color of concrete, which is brownish, grayish color, keeping the same shape and form, 4-sided pyramid. This is exactly what we think the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun looked like back in the original time. Now, have in mind that what we see clearly as 220 meters, this is where the greenery starts on this bigger picture, or even bottom left, where we can see clear triangle, it is 220 meters. But look at the next slide. What we did use was the LiDAR technology, which is very useful because in LiDAR you have the laser. When you're flying over the area, it emits laser rays, and it flies several times above the pyramid. And those laser rays, they go in between the trees and the leaves, hitting the ground. And when you have enough point, on the ground, that you can really remove the greenery from the picture, remove the objects, the houses. So this illustration clearly shows that the corner is not going from the half of the pyramid, which is triangular, but it goes all the way to the bottom of the valley. And if you're looking the left side, which is the east side, it is much, much bigger than what we previously thought. So the real height is 368 meters, which is an amazing fact. Now, Michael, the next very important fact for the pyramid builders was the next one, yes, the green one, was the side orientation. Traveling the world, I realized that most of the pyramids worldwide are oriented to the north. Cardinal points, but north, very important. Which north? Cosmic north, geographical north. For example, all Chinese pyramids, I measured them at the site, north. Cambodia, north. Java, very close to northern orientation. Nubian pyramids in Sudan, north. All Egyptian pyramids, north. Peruvian, Cahokia pyramids in the US, north. Now, so far we thought that the best orientation is the northern side of the Great Pyramid of Egypt. The error from the perfect north is 0 degrees and 3 minutes. And this is genius. If we remember that the length at the side is 230 meters and 0.4. So two sides are 400 and actually it's 230 meters. So It is like 2 football stadiums. Now imagine that the builders had such a precise orientation with the error of 0 degrees and 3 minutes. Khafre or Khafre pyramid, 0 degrees, 3 minutes. Then we have Mykarinos, 0 degrees, 18 minutes. Then we have bent pyramid in Dahshur, 0 degrees and 12 minutes. Then we have red pyramid in Dahshur, 0 degrees and 5 minutes. I mean, these people, they were genius. Now in Bosnia, we had the State Institute for Geodesy. 3 engineers of the geodesy came. They brought their scientific instrument. It's called total station. They got connected to the satellite. They measured the northern face of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. And the error was 0 degrees, 0 minutes, and 12 seconds. This is unbelievable. This is the most precise orientation ever. Now, have in mind that the length at the base of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun is 1,050 meters. So it is like 8 football stadiums, one next to each other. And the error is 0, 0, 12. That's an amazing fact. So the next slide will show us also, well, actually, maybe we can discuss a little bit why the side orientation matters. Of course, Egyptologists are aware of that. They know that it was a precise orientation. They don't know how to explain that. When they don't know, then they said, for ceremonial reasons, for religious purposes, going to the underworld, blah, blah, blah. No, we need scientific explanation. Independent researchers like Hancock and Wow, no, they are saying, oh, this is amazing. Look at this, precise orientation. But we don't hear the answers why. The reason we don't hear that is these people, they don't have an engineering mind. You know that, for example, the genius like Nikola Tesla, he knew that everything is energy. Our planet is like a huge energy ball, and you have the strongest energy flows north-south and east-west. So when you build 4-sided pyramid and you're perfectly oriented, these energy flows, they initiate the flow of the energy inside the pyramid. And guess what? Those 3 discovered chambers in the Great Pyramid of Egypt, which are called for some reason King's Chamber, Queen's Chamber, and Unfinished Chamber. They are all located, positioned exactly the direction of this energy flow, because this energy flow goes like this. It hits 1/3 of the height, goes to 2/3, coming back to 1/3, completing the circle. So they are all on this, on the path of this energy flow, meaning those who enter those chambers, they are exposed to the pyramid energy, which will be the key to explain the purpose of pyramid. Now, about this slide that we can see right now, this is done with the geosatellite technology. This is geothermal analysis. What we did, we scanned the valley during the daytime and during the nighttime. So we were checking the temperature loss. If you have natural hills and natural mountains, they are the result of millions of years of the sedimentation. So they are very compact. It takes a lot of time for them to heat. It takes a lot of time for them to cool. But if you have an artificial structures, due to the existence of chambers and passageways, the heat loss is much quicker. And guess what? Those 4 squares are showing the pyramid of the Sun, Moon, Love, and Dragon with the quickest heat loss. So back in 2006, when we did this geothermal scanning, we knew that there are potential chambers and passageways. The next aspect of the pyramid story, the next slide. Okay, yes.
So with this slide, it seems to show a lot of tunnels and chambers all over that area. So is that something that's been confirmed? I mean, near the town of Visoko, that there are this extensive series of tunnels?
So far, with the tunnels that we've discovered, 7 entrances, we have cleared and protected for the visitors 3.6 kilometers of the tunnels. That's a lot. I know when they discovered the tunnels under the Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan, about 50 meters, about the Pyramid of the Moon, Quetzalcoatl Pyramid, it was a huge discovery and the world sensations. And they discovered tunnels under the pyramids in Palenque, in the Mexican state of Chiapas, that connects, when you enter the park, on your right, there is a temple of inscriptions and 2 more pyramids. It's also about 70, 80 meters, huge sensation. We have 3.6 kilometers so far. I believe this is just the tip of the iceberg, because I think that we have at least 100 kilometers of the passageways, which is about 60 miles, not on one level. So far, we have discovered tunnels on 2 different levels, and I suspect there are maybe 7 different levels. So you are absolutely right that the whole of the Visoko Valley, has those tunnels under the ground. And yes, the next slide is showing the next very interesting aspect of the pyramid builders. They were always looking at the sky. So especially 2 most important cosmic bodies, our sun and the moon. So what we can see here on the picture to the left, when you climb the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, then you can follow the shadow of the Sun Pyramid. It is right in front of us. And above is western slope of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Moon, which is also covered by forest and vegetation. These are the afternoon hours. And the bottom right is the picture just before the sunset. The shadow of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun covers completely the western side of the Pyramid of the Moon, and top of the shadow covers the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Moon. So in symbolical way, the message from the pyramid builders is the rule of the sun and the day is over, and the rule of the night and the moon starts. So it's simply genius.
That is
on the next
right.
Yes. On the next slide, we can apply technology from our late friend called Dr. Harry Oldfield from UK. He developed a special camera that can scan an invisible energy fields. Now, he has noticed that above the cities and towns, like this particular photo, this is photo of the village in central Serbia, those energy fields are all horizontal. We can see green energy field, and blue, and the red, and the green, and the blue, and the red. Also, above the rivers and lakes, seas, always horizontal. Mountains, valley, horizontal, horizontal. The next slide is showing us a very well-known view of the famous Bell Rock in Sedona, Arizona. Sedona is my favorite place in the US because of the red rocks, wonderful energy, and probably the most famous is the Bell Rock. Now, I obtained this technology, and look at behind the Bell Rock. Look at those energy fields. We have a red, and the green, and blue, and red, and green, and blue, a horizontal. Like I said, this is the scenario which is present almost everywhere in the world. Wherever I traveled, I took the camera from South Africa to US, to Jordan, to Vietnam, China, Europe, different countries, horizontal, horizontal. And look at the next slide. This is the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. As we can see, above the pyramid, we have vertical energy fields. Why is that? Look at the pyramid itself. Inside the pyramid, we can see a lot of red color. Red color, I mean, it's very easy to conclude. It is associated with the energy. Energy is getting accumulated inside the pyramid. A lot of red color. And then we can see that this energy is getting outside through the top of the pyramid, hitting those horizontal fields, and they become vertical. So we've been scanning the pyramid since 2007 when Dr. Oldfield came to our site. And since we purchased this technology, 2012, 15, 16, all the way to 2025, we've been scanning the pyramids, and those fields are always vertical. For example,
interesting.
yes.
I just wanted to ask that kind of purplish red energy at the bottom of the pyramid of the sun. That's a sign of the energy accumulation. I know that there's been a lot of theories that with the Giza pyramid, that it is a generator using the piezoelectric effect. So is something similar to that happening here?
We'll come to that, exactly. I'm glad that you made that comment. Look at the next slide. The next slide is showing the panoramic photo of the Visoko Valley. To the right, we can see the buildings, the hotels, different structures. We can see the forest. You see how all the energy fields are horizontal. They are static. They don't move. And this is what you would expect from the cities and the nature. And as we are moving towards the left corner, we have the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. Again, the red color inside the pyramid. And all the way at the bottom left is the Pyramid of Love. You see how all those energy fields, they are vertical, meaning that the pyramids are active energetically, whatever that means. And we'll come to the meaning of that. So the panoramic photo is really excellent illustration. Or even the next slide.
I just wanted to kind of like ask a question, just to go back to the Bell Rock in Sedona, where the energy fields shown through that special camera are all horizontal. Is that pretty much the norm in nature? You can go anywhere in the world in nature.
Everywhere.
Horizontal.
Everywhere. Like I said, I take this technology wherever I go. It's always horizontal. When I take it to the Egypt, it's a little bit different scenario. And I'll show you one photo from Egypt. In Egypt, when you're traveling along the road, you're going to Abu Simbel, for example, from Aswan. Sometimes you have those energy fields horizontal. But when it comes to the Egyptian pyramids, I've noticed that some of them are energetically alive, some of them are energetically dead. For example, the Step Pyramid in Saqqara, which is the Egyptian ruler of the 3rd dynasty, Djoser. So, if we move, that one here is showing the Bosnian Pyramid of the Moon. 2 different years, 2011, 2015. Of course, in our archive, we have many, many, many photos of the scanned energy. It's always vertical. It means these pyramids are energetically active in the summer and the fall and the winter and the spring, day and night. Now, also other Bosnian pyramids, Dragon, Earth, Love, the 6th pyramid, so the whole Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids is energetically active. Now, every December, I used to take people to trips, to journeys to Egypt, from Aswan all the way to the pyramid sites, like Hawara and Abu Sir and Saqqara, Giza, and so on. So I would take this technology, and then I was taking a scan of different Egyptian pyramids. And look at the next slide. It shows the second largest pyramid in Egypt, which is called Khafre pyramid. To the right and to the left, we have those energy fields that are horizontal. But as they come close to the top of the second largest pyramid, Kefren pyramid, we have vertical energy field, which tells me that this pyramid is also energetically active. Now, when I scanned it for the first time about 10 years ago, I was very enthusiastic about this. I wrote the report and sent it to my colleagues in Cairo and Alexandria, the leading Egyptologists, archaeologists, and geologists. And I explained them, what I discovered, and I got the anonymous answer from them. We don't care about the energy. These pyramids are tombs, and that's it. Not very scientific answer.
Just to recapitulate here, I mean, these images were taken showing the energy fields using a particular type of camera, and you mentioned the expert who did that. So is this technology widely recognized? I mean, would a scientist look at this and say, well, yeah, this is hard data supporting what you're saying?
It is not widely recognized. The work of Dr. Harry Oldfield, he was using this camera for different things. If you, for example, scan, human body, you will see different energies. People are different. People who are dark, who are, violent, who are aggressive, that's exactly what type of the colors they're going to have. They're going to have dark, heavy colors. People who are spiritual, who are, open-minded, beautiful light colors. Like on this diagram, look at it to the left. You have light green or light blue. So it tells us something. If you can record something, you can, do scan. It always gives you some new information. But what I've been doing, the point is, you need to attack the pyramids with the interdisciplinary scientific approach. This is what we've been doing. Now, the next important aspect is about the sacred geometry. The ancient builders were smart. They knew that if they apply the elements of sacred geometry, they're going to get the movement of the energy. So let's explain the first part of the sentence. What are the elements of sacred geometry? The major mathematical numbers, number pi, 3.14, and number phi, golden section, 1.618. Also, geometrical forms like equilateral triangle, not any triangle, equilateral triangle. Why? Because in nature, you can connect 3 points in unlimited number of ways, but only one way gives you equilateral triangle, the same length of the sides and inner angles at 60 degrees. The next element of sacred geometry, hexagon. Hexagon consists of 6 equilateral triangles in 2D. In 3D, those triangles, they become pyramids. So hexagon is 6 pyramids. And then 2 major elements. One is called flower of life. And the last one, the most important for me, is called Fibonacci spiral, which sometimes is called golden section spiral. So let's start with the first one that is showing right now. It is showing the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids. Upper left is the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. Then, when we connect the top of the Sun with the top of the Moon Pyramid, the distance is 2.2 kilometers. From the Moon, going bottom left, is the top of the Dragon Pyramid. And then from Dragon, we go back to the Sun. So we are getting equilateral triangle with the distances between them 2.2 kilometers, inner angles at 60 degrees. Now, Michael, what is the chance that Mother Nature will make 4-sided pyramid with 4 triangular faces with the 4 corners, with the perfect orientation to the cardinal points, with artificially made concrete blocks, and then position 3 of such hills forming equilateral triangle. The chance is 0%. So, on the next slide, now we can skip that one. It shows, it's telling us, okay. Now this one here, this is a usage of the LiDAR technology. What we did, we commissioned a company from Austria to do the LiDAR scan of the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids. So this is, from high above the Valley of the Pyramids, we showed the rivers and showed different pyramids. And nowadays we have some tools like Google Map. Google Map is good, but on wider distances, for example, a couple of kilometers, 3 kilometers, it can be off 50 meters or 80 meters. That's a lot. It's like 150 or 300 feet. But with the LiDAR technology, it is off plus minus 15 centimeters, which is only 6 inches. So basically, it is nothing. It is very, very precise. So what we did, we took the LiDAR map and we marked the tops of the pyramids, sun, moon, dragon, earth, flower, and so on. And then we started playing with those tops. Now, the next slide will show us what happens when we connect the tops of the sun, moon, and the dragon. It is the red triangle, equilateral triangle. And we have the center of the triangle. From the center, we make a circle, which connects the top of the sun, moon, and dragon. And now we use the same diameter circle. And we start from the center of the triangle. One of the circles, the yellow one, it starts from the center, goes to the top of the moon pyramid, goes to the top of the dragon, coming back to the center. Another one from the center, going back to the top of the dragon, intersects with the top of the sun, coming back to the center. Another one from the center to the top of the sun and top of the moon, coming back to the center. In other words, what we got here is the flower of life, element of sacred geometry, not any flower of life, with those 6 circles, same diameter. This is hexagonal flower of life. In the bottom of the pyramid,
and we're talking, these are spheres that are being generated that connect all of the different pyramids. So there's a 3-dimensional flower of life comprising energy there.
Yes. And the matter of fact, we have not one, but we have 2 more. We don't have the time, to explain all of them, but 3 flower of lives in the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids. And now we are coming the most exciting element of sacred geometry, which is the Fibonacci spiral. In the central square, we have Fibonacci spiral shown, and you can find it in micro to the macro world. Upper left is the sunflower, and we can see inside the spiral starts from the inside out. Upper right, we can see the shell, also a beautiful Fibonacci spiral, which is also called golden section spiral. They are almost identical. We can see in the second row to the left, the spiral galaxy. Bottom left, human DNA. Bottom right, the tropical storm. And indeed, the eye of the storm is the beginning of the spiral. So it's anywhere in the world. So I would say that the universal mind, the creator, has used the movement of the energy following the Fibonacci spiral in order to create all the life on this planet and in the universe. This is something that we can call the cosmic harmony, the usage of the cosmic energy. So important. Now let's go back to this Fibonacci. No. Stay in the same slide. Let's go back to the central square with the Fibonacci spiral. It is based on the Fibonacci numbers. How do you get those numbers? You add two previous numbers, you get the third one. For example, 1, 2. 1 plus 2 equals 3. 2 plus 3 equals 5. 3 plus 5 equals 8. 5 plus 8, 13. 8 plus 13, you see the number 21. 13 plus 21, 34. These are Fibonacci numbers. And where is the golden section? We divide 34 and 21. The result is 1.618. 21 by 13, the result is 1.618. So these are two major numbers, golden section and Fibonacci numbers. How do you get the spiral? What should you connect? The corners, the diagonal corners. Let's say if it is 1 by 1, square 1 by 1 by 1 by 1, you connect those corners, 2 by 2 corners, 3 by 3 corners, 5 by 5, 8 by 8, 13 by 13, 21 by 21, and so on. So this spiral is mathematically very, very precise. There is no flexibility. This line of the spiral cannot go to the right or to the left, but exactly the way it is shown here. And that's exactly how the shell on the upper right is made using this spiral. So when we go to the next slide, we are coming down to the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids. The ancient builders were aware of the fact that the universe, the creator, was using Fibonacci spiral to position all the objects in the universe, to create the life. So by mimicking elements of sacred geometry and positioning of the structures, they wanted to show that they are aware of this very fact. So on this slide, we can see the Fibonacci spiral, the blue color. It starts at the top of the Pyramid of Love in the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids. And then the spiral intersects with the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. And then it continues to the right, top of the Temple of Mother Earth. And then down the center, top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Dragon. And then all the way to the end, upper right, top of the tumulus, conical artificial hill. So we have tops of 5 structures: love, sun, earth, dragon, tumulus. You know, Michael, in nature, 2 points on Fibonacci spiral, it's a natural. 3 points, now it can be natural, it can be intentional. But when you have 5 points, it is intention for sure. Well, just to make sure, what I did, I used, and we can see it on the next slide, I used the statistical method to see what were the odds that Mother Nature can make Fibonacci spiral intersecting with the 5 pyramid hill or pyramid-shaped hills or artificial structures. So the good thing about it, it is called the Monte Carlo simulation. The good thing is, thanks to the modern technology and the AI and the special software, you can analyze thousands, tens of thousands different options. So this was the question I asked. How many places on the planet where we have 5 pyramid tops on the same Fibonacci spiral, or pyramid-shaped hills with the 5 tops, or just natural, irregularly shaped hilltops and mountaintops in the same valley, but 5 of them on Fibonacci spiral. And as you can read, out of 10,000 simulations, no configuration satisfied these conditions. So estimated probability is basically 0%, or as they're saying, P is less than 0.0001. Monte Carlo simulation is an accepted scientific method. As a matter of fact, when it comes to statistics, it is the first scientific method. If only this, criteria, the positioning of the pyramid structures, that would be enough for someone to conclude that somebody intentionally positioned those structures without the concrete, without the perfect orientation, without any of other elements. But it is element after element and after element. And this is not all. Let's look at the next slide. On this slide, we start from the largest pyramid on the planet. That's the top of the Bosnian pyramid of the sun, which is the beginning of the spiral. And then the spiral goes to the right. It is going through the top of Temple of Mother Earth and through the top of Pyramid Dragon. So we have three tops of pyramids. This is the second spiral. Let's go to the next one. Now, on the next one, if we see from bottom left, the blue color, this is the river Fonica. Upper right corner, river Bosna is coming, and those two rivers, they have the mouth of two rivers, estuary. This is, water is, of course, the life. It is a very important point in space. Now, we start the next Fibonacci spiral exactly from the mouth rivers, and then to the right, we can see how the top of the moon pyramid intersects with the Fibonacci spiral. And then in continuation, the next one is Temple of Mother Earth. It has two triangular faces on the ends, one on the right-hand side, the other one on the left side. And we have corners at those triangular faces, and they are exactly intersecting with this spiral, the right triangular face and the left triangular face. It gives us 4 points in the space that intersects with the Fibonacci spiral. So far, we have 3 of them. And then I've consulted the Monte Carlo simulation again, on the next slide, asking how many hilltops, mountaintops, and estuaries, mouths of 2 rivers, in the world, anywhere, on all 6 continents, with the 3 Fibonacci spirals, like in Bosnia. The answer was, estimated probability was P equals 0.0001. In other words, not a single one other than Bosnian pyramid. And guess what? That's not all. Let's look at the next slide. Upper left is our tumulus. Tumulus, like I said, conical artificial hill. This one is in the village of Vratnica. In Bosnian, Vratnica, vrata, it means door, gate. Gate to the Bosnian pyramid of the sun. I'm saying artificial, how do we know? Bottom left photo is showing our excavation since 2006 until today. We remove layers of soil and clay. We are discovering a huge artificially shaped blocks. We are finding terraces. So, bottom right is showing the 4th Fibonacci spiral. The spiral starts again at the mouth of 2 rivers, going through the top of the Bosnian pyramid of the sun, intersecting with the entrance to the underground world, the Ravne tunnels, and all the way to the right, coming back to the top of the tumulus. So we have 4 points. Isn't that amazing? 4 Fibonacci spirals, which are mathematically so precise. It does not give any flexibility, so it means that the ancient builders were so careful how they're going to position their major structures. So these are Fibonacci spirals.
Right.
And let me show you one more slide, which is interesting if you agree. Now, on this slide, we can see one straight line. It starts at number 1. This is top of Temple of Mother Earth. Number 2 is the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of Love. Number 3, top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. Number 4 is the top of the unnamed structure. Namely, 10 years ago, we are digging there, we are hitting the concrete, so it's a smaller structure, but it is exactly on this line. And number 5 is the entrance to underground tunnels. So we have 5 major archaeological sites in this perfectly straight, laser straight line. You see how the ancients were smart, how they would, lay out those structures. So this was an aspect of sacred geometry in the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids. And now we are coming to the biggest discovery of this season.
Can you maybe just back up before we go to the next slide? Okay, so in the earlier slides you describe the pyramids or different structures being in this spiral pattern and the Fibonacci series or spiral, and that there were 4 of those involving the different structures, and now you've described these 5 structures being a straight line. How does that make sense? Can you just explain that?
You see, if you start from the Sun Pyramid, for example, the first one was about starting at the point number 2, the Love Pyramid. So if Fibonacci spiral starts, we have top of the Sun, and then goes to the left, Temple of Mother Earth, Pyramid of Dragon, which is not shown here, and all the way around this straight line to the top of the tumulus. So it goes around this particular line. The next one was showing as a starting point, the mouth of 2 rivers, which is not on this straight line. So you start from the mouth of 2 rivers, going to the top of the Moon Pyramid, which is not on this straight line, and then touching the corners of the Temple of Mother Earth, which is not part of this straight line. And then the next one starts also at the mouth of 2 rivers. It is going through the top of the Sun, which is number 3, going around this line all the way to the tumulus. So some of the points are on the intersecting with the Fibonacci spiral. But this is one straight line, which is showing only the structures of this right side of the valley. So that's the reason why they are on this straight line.
Okay. So why don't you go on now to...
Yes. Now, in the 1990s, when I was reading books by Robert Bouval and later on by Bouval and Hancock, people like Schock, it was really impressed because they were showing the connection between the 3 tops of the Giza pyramids, Cheops, Kepha, and Mykerinos, with the position of 3 stars of the Orion belt. So in the last 30 years, everybody's been talking about that as the scientific fact. Also, in the later books, they are talking about the Egyptian pantheon, about their gods, Isis, Osiris, Horus, and the others, basically, almost telling us that they might came from those, stars. So we have, on one hand, what they could see, observe on the night sky, and symbolically about their gods. So 30 years later, I said to myself, okay, let me double check that hypothesis, that those 3 pyramid tops match 3 stars of the Orion belt. Now, on the next slide, bottom left, those 3 squares represent 3 major pyramids at the Giza Plateau. So, starts from the Cheops to Khephren and the Mykerinos. Now, when you adjust those two stars of the Orion belt to the tops, let's see where the third star will end up. As we can see, upper right, it is not exactly on the top of the third smaller pyramid. It is close enough. It's not perfect fit. So this is the case of the Orion belt. I said to myself, okay, let me check some other star systems. So the second illustration is showing the star cluster of Cygnus. No. Go back to the previous. Just you see the illustration next to the Orion, the blue one also, it's showing the Cygnus star cluster. Now, when we connect the tops of three Egyptian pyramids, it is not a straight line. It is actually just one broken line. So it starts with the tops of the Khufu and Khafre, and then you need to break this line for about 30 degrees, and you get to the top of the Mykerinos. So look at on the second illustration, the Cygnus star systems. We have not one, but three broken lines. Two of them are very similar to the layout of the three stars of the Orion belt. So which one is correct? And then if we continue to the right, the one which is above is called the Pegasus. Pegasus also has one nice broken line, which is very similar to the layout of the three stars of Orion belt. And the bottom right corner is a fox. Fox also has one nice broken line. So just by looking at maps, I said, well, there are probably many broken lines that can match position of three tops of the Giza pyramids. But instead of me checking all 100,000 visible stars on the night sky, I have used objective and neutral scientific method, Monte Carlo simulation. Basically asking Monte Carlo, can you find me how many matches between three tops of Egyptian pyramids with the triplets, with the three stars in different star clusters? So only from one cluster, it can be Draco, it can be Taurus, it can be whatever, Pleiades. How many triplets form this broken star with the distances which are proportional and the same angle, -1 to 2 degrees. And guess how many? Not one, Orion, not four that I'm suggesting here, but 4,429. What does that mean? You don't have 1, 4, or 10 different possibilities, but more than 4,400. I'm not saying that Bouval and Hancock were wrong. What I'm saying is that according to the Monte Carlo simulation, the chances that they were right are very, very slim. So I was thinking further, all right, this is astronomy and star maps. How about that second aspect? We can go to the next slide. Aspect that covers their gods, Isis, Osiris, and other Egyptian gods. To the left, we can see the map of the three major pyramids in Teotihuacan in Mexico. It's an hour-and-a-half drive to the north from the Mexico City, the capital of Mexico. And the pyramid in the middle is the pyramid of the sun. Upper, a little bit to the left, is the pyramid of the moon. And down, bottom, is the Quetzalcoatl pyramid. When we connect the tops of those three pyramids, what we get is a broken line, exactly like the one in Egypt. Well, if in Egypt we had Egyptian gods, I think it's rather clear that in Mexico we did not have Egyptian gods as well. We had different gods. We had Quetzalcoatl, for example. And then, if you go to the right side, upper photo is showing Monte Vecchio pyramids. This is a site in Italy. pyramids covered by soil, vegetation. When we connect those three sites, one broken line, the same distances proportionally, and the same angle, forming this beautiful broken line, like three Egyptian pyramids. When we did not have Egyptian gods in Italy. And the bottom right is a site in Spain, which I investigated a few years back. It's called Palencia. Palencia is a small village north from the Valladolid, in central Spain. It used to have three pyramids. One of them has been removed, destroyed a few years back. But originally, they also had the same layout like three Egyptian pyramids. And of course, Spain did not have Egyptian gods. So much about the Egyptian hypothesis. Let's go to the next. This slide is showing the title.
So, I mean, just to back up there, just so it becomes clear what you've just done, is that you've just shown that the configuration of the Egyptian pyramids and the thesis that these match up with the Orion constellation, the belt of Orion, that is actually not correct, that there are many different other configurations of stars in our galaxy that matches that up. So you're basically saying that if we want to explain the configuration of the pyramids, then looking to Orion's belt is not the answer. We got to look elsewhere.
What I'm saying is that Monte Carlo simulation confirmed there are 4,429 good matches with the three tops of Egyptian pyramids. Orion is just one out of 4,429. So the chance that our great researchers, because they helped us open our mind and start looking at the sky, but the chance that they were right, it was not 100%, or 50%, or 10%, or 1%, or 0.1%. It was 0.04%.
Okay.
I'm not saying they are wrong. I'm just saying this is what the scientific method is telling us. Now, in this article that I published in the summer of 2026, I've been trying to find a potential match between major point in the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids with the certain star cluster that is appropriate. You know, I was thinking, traveling the world, what was the star system that's been most often mentioned in oral traditions? My PhD is about the Mayan civilization. They even had one of their calendars. They had 21 calendars. One of their calendars lasted 52 years. That was the period which takes the star cluster called M45, or better known as the Pleiades. It takes 52 years for the Pleiades to go from its most southern point on the night sky, going to the most northern points and coming back to the south. So it's 52-year cycle. The Mayan had Aztecs. They were having the biggest ceremonies every 52 years. They were doing a lot of sacrificing of their enemies, chiefs of, enemy tribes every 52 years, ripping the heart from their body, offering as a, gift their love, appreciation to the gods. Toltecs. Then we have Anasazis, very interesting civilization from the southern US. They were in the New Mexico, Utah, Colorado, Nevada, Arizona. They were carving, their carvings in the stones would show, movement of the Pleiades star system. Hopi Indians, Pueblo Indians, Navajo Indians, in their oral traditions. Maori, New Zealand, original people in Australia, not Ab, original, not original, but original people in Australia, they're talking about the Pleiades under different name. Of course, South Korea, Japan, China, India, Europe, Africa, everywhere. But it is in oral traditions. We don't have scientific proof that would link our planet with the Pleiades. So, what I did, I took the Pleiades star map, and it is shown on the next slide. It is to the left. Now, the name the Pleiades is coming from the Greek mythology, the seven sisters. So we have from center to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the seventh is actually the binary star. So it is 7 of them. And to the left, we can see 2 more stars. They are called Atlas and Pleione. Atlas is the father, Pleione is the mother, so it's like parents plus 7 daughters. So we have 9 points. What do we have in Bosnia? We have 6 pyramid tops, Sun, Moon, Dragon, Earth, Love, and the 6th pyramid. We have top of the tumulus. We have a estuary, the mouth of 2 rivers, and we have entrance to the underground, world. Number 9. We have 9 points also. Coincidence? Well, let's see. First, looking at the map, I said, well, in the case of Orion theory, we have 1 broken line. We have many broken lines. If you look at the Pleiades, you have broken lines. But straight line is, I would say, a little bit more significant. So we have the 1 straight line. It is the 3 stars, Taygeta, Maya, and Alcyone. But then I'm thinking, well, straight lines, looking in the night sky, you have probably hundreds or even thousands of straight lines. And it is not so significant. If we can find something more complex, and yes, we did. In the case of Bosnia, we have triangle, but not any triangle. We have equilateral triangle, which is very precise, the same distances between the tops. In the case of the Pleiades star system, we have also a triangle, Maya, Electra, and Alcyone. But then I'm thinking, how many triangles, even equilateral triangles in the night sky? Probably a lot, maybe hundreds. If we can find something which is even more complex, mathematically very precise, well, that would be something. And guess what? I said, let's try with the Fibonacci spiral. Because if we have more than 3 points on Fibonacci spiral in a case of the Pleiades, that would mean something. Because in Bosnia, we have 4 Fibonacci spirals. And let's go to the next slide. And you see what I got? If you start from the middle star, which is called the Maya, in Greek mythology, Maya was the oldest sister. It was the topic of my PhD dissertation. We start from Maya, and as we go to the right, Taygeta exactly intersects with the spiral. You move down, Celano, exactly on the spiral. The next one, Electra, is at the close. The next one, Merope, is at the close, but it's not on the spiral. But the last one, Alcyone, it is exactly on this spiral and exactly at the end of this rectangle. 4 stars are positioned on Fibonacci spiral. It cannot be coincidence. So I was very happy when I discovered this. And as a matter of fact, I did check with AI, are there any published scientific article about the Fibonacci spiral from the Pleiades star system? The answer was no. So this was, well, my discovery. So we have Fibonacci spiral. But my original intention was to see if the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids match with the positions of the most important star cluster. The next slide, what I did, I took the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids, overlaying it over the star map. And what happened, the place where we have the Maya star, we have the mouth of two rivers. I cannot tell you how important is the water for the pyramids. In Egypt, River Nile, major rivers in Mexico, in China, in Peru. In Bosnia, we have two major rivers. With the rivers, river moves its kinetic energy. River moves, it releases beneficial negative ions, healing aspect. With the rivers, we have underground water streams, energy movement. With the rivers, we have three water accumulation under the pyramids of the sun and the moon and dragon. I will not exaggerate if I say that it was so important for the Bosnian pyramid complex to work because of the rivers. So for me, it was logically to have mouths of two rivers exactly where the Maya is positioned. And then when we continue with the spiral, where we have Galeano, we have entrance to the underground world. Hey, we go the underground. This is so important. Exactly at the position of this star. And where does the spiral ends? Alcyone, in the case of Pleiades, and the tumulus, the gate to the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids. Perfect match. Fibonacci spiral celestially, Fibonacci spiral terrestrially. As above, so beyond.
Now, earlier in your presentation, you described 4 Fibonacci spirals in the Bosnian pyramid valley. And so of those 4, is this the one that matches?
It is. If you remember, I did mention that we had beginning, when I was talking about the tumulus, beginning is at the mouth of two rivers, going through the top of the sun, tunnels, tumulus. So this is the perfect match.
I see. So if we put those other 3 spirals on here, they would be the Bosnian.
They will be on next slides, Michael. They'll be on next slides. So let's go to the next slide.
Okay. I'm getting ahead of you.
Now, yes. Now, the next slide, what I did, because on this first slide, we have Fibonacci spiral that includes only the first 7 stars. And those 2, the parents, the father and mother, like in our real life, they are usually neglected. I didn't want them neglected. I wanted to include. So those 2 stars are Pleione and Atlas. So if we start with the Fibonacci spiral from Pleione, out of the 2, this is the one which is a little bit above. We start from Pleione, going through Atlas. It ends at the Maya. So this is another Fibonacci spiral. And the next slide, we are bringing the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids. So where we have Pleione and Atlas, we have exactly the tops of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun and the Love Pyramid. So we are starting from the top of the Sun or Pleione, and it ends again at the tumulus or the Maya star. So now the second Fibonacci spiral matches terrestrially, celestially. Michael, you and me, we have heard so many times this expression, as above, so beyond. Mm-hmm. It's mostly from the spiritual scientists. But now we have scientific link for this particular expression. And this link is between the huge pyramid complex here on Earth with the most important star cluster above us. That was the second match. Now, on this one, as you can see, we start at the Sun Pyramid or Pleione, but why don't we start now from the top of the Love Pyramid? If you remember, we had one of the Fibonacci spirals starting from the Love Pyramid, ending at the tumulus. So what's going to happen? You start from the Love and you end at the tumulus. You start at the same time from Atlas, you end at the Maya, the oldest sister, the Maya star. So the result is we have 3 Fibonacci spirals that match between the Bosnian pyramids and the Pleiades. And I would dare to say that this is probably the biggest archaeoastronomical discovery. On the next slide, just to make sure, what I did, I've checked with the Monte Carlo simulation. How many 3 Fibonacci spirals terrestrially and celestially? Celestially, I said, take any star cluster into consideration. The answer was P less than 1.1, less than 0.0001. Basically, except for the Bosnian pyramids and Fibonacci link with the Pleiades, none, 0. So, what happened? Next, I have written and published article. On the next slide, you can see that, and sent it not to any scientific journal. I didn't want to send it to the, history or archaeology journal, because over there, the reviewers are historians, archaeologists. I wanted to send to someone who's an engineer, who deals with the mathematics, with the geometry, with statistics. So this journal, as you can see, it's research in statistics and mathematics. So my reviewers were scientists, engineering minds, people who deal with the numbers and the statistics and who are very precise, who don't care about archaeological sites. Are they real? Are they pseudo-archaeological? Whatever people, describe us. They care about the numbers. Are the numbers matching? They care about the statistics. What is the probability? So it's been published in July of this year, giving us legitimacy. So in order to conclude, and the conclusion is on the next slide, in order to conclude, when I compare those 2 hypotheses, the first one, the Orion Belt theory, it is based on a visual, on observation, which was, like I said, important at the time, in 1990s, 30 years ago. As a matter of fact, Bouval, I think he published his first book in 1989. It was important at the time to open our mind to different possibilities. But observation and symbolical, the stories about the gods, this is not scientific. And what about the Bosnian pyramid, Pleiades connection? It is based on our archaeological work, on astronomical maps, on very strong LiDAR geodetic measurements, on mathematical, geometrical, astronomical, and statistical correlations. In other words, this is science.
So I wanted to just look at the implications of this. So you found 3 Fibonacci spirals series in the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids that match the alignment of the stars in the Pleiadian star system, and that's highly statistically significant. You've written a paper that was accepted, highlighting all of that. So, I mean, just looking at that, does that tell us that the builders were Pleiadians and that they had deliberately created these structures in that geometric relationship because it matched their...
Let me answer you with a question. Why would somebody go through so much troubles to build such a huge complex, manipulating with tens of millions of tons of material, positioning them in a certain way that would match that particular star cluster, unless they had a very good reason for that? They wanted to show probably where the builders were coming from. That can be one of the implications. I'm not saying that, this is the reason, because I'm a scientist, I need scientific argument. But if I'm to speculate, I think this is one of the major options, yes.
Right. So in terms of the Giza pyramids and the pyramids in Egypt, people estimate them being at least 15,000 years old. You've estimated the Bosnian pyramids being like 30,000 years.
30,000 years.
30,000 years old. So is that telling us that the Bosnian pyramids were part of a kind of like pre-Giza kind of like civilization?
When it comes to the Giza complex, unfortunately, only 4 radiocarbon dating was done on Great Pyramid of Egypt. All 4 has shown dates much older than the reign of the 4th dynasty pharaoh called Khufu or Cheops. And then they stopped because it was not very convenient for them to claim one thing, that it was part of the great Egyptian civilization 4,550 years ago and the reign of the pharaoh Khufu, and now dating is showing something much, much older. What I think for Egyptian pyramids, they are of course much older than the end of the last ice age. How do we know that? When El Mamnoon, 1,200 years ago, violently entered the pyramid, at the base and the first few levels, they discovered seashells and the sea salt, meaning that the pyramid was exposed to the flooding. Now, the Giza is about 180 kilometers away from the Mediterranean Sea. When did we have such a huge flood? Of course, 12,000 years back with the end of the last ice age, meaning the pyramids were already there during that particular flood. I think that those pyramids belong to the time period 30 to 40,000 years. And I base this on the most important Egyptian artifact for me, which is called the Turin King List, which is today in the Egyptian Museum in Turin, Italy. It is a papyrus, 175 centimeters long, 45 centimeters wide. It shows 11 columns. All the rulers in Egypt with the date when they were ruling. 3 phases. The last phase, the era of sons of gods, from 5,000 years back. That's how Egyptian rulers call themselves. Not the pharaohs, not the kings, sons of gods. First dynasty, second, third, fourth, all the way to the 19th dynasty. And they were ruling Egypt 10 years, 20 years. They got lucky like Ramesses II, 67 years. The phase before that, the era of the spiritual kings and the demigods. Every one of them was ruling for 200 years or 300 years each. But the first phase is the era of gods. They were ruling Egypt 1,000 years in average, gods, with a small g. Now, in papyrus itself, it's saying the era during the venerable Shemsuhor or before Shemsuhor. So we have 13,000 and 23,000 years. So 23 plus 13 plus 5, it's about between 41 and 42,000 years. So I believe that so-called gods, because if those beings were living for 1,000 years, for sure they have the tools to shape the granite, to transport hundreds of tons blocks from Aswan to Giza, put those pyramids together, and incorporate all that knowledge, astronomical, mathematical, calendar, and so on. So I think that Egyptian pyramids were built between 30 and 40,000 years ago. What about the Bosnian pyramids? Now, Bosnia is the poorest country in Europe. And our project is run by the non-profit foundation that we, funded. We don't have money from the government whatsoever. No European Union funds, nothing. We finance ourselves. I've been biggest donor for the last 20 years. And of course, the tourists. They pay fee to enter the tunnels, the Sun Pyramid, they buy souvenirs, books, and stuff like that. We've done Michael, 28 radiocarbon dating, 12 luminescence analysis, and 7 uranium thorium analysis. Never so many dating in any pyramid project. It is not in the slides. So, what is the date that we have? It's more than 30,000 years. For example, organic material, fossilized leaves that we discovered between concrete blocks, it got there during the construction process, was 20,200 years plus minus 400 years, which is a radiocarbon date. In order to get the calibrated date or calendar age, we used the help from our very good friend, late Dr. Paul Laviolette. He gave us the date, 33,800 years. So it's right there between 30 and 40,000 years. Our friend from Indonesia, Dr. Danny Hillman, geophysicist, a PhD from California, he dated Gunung Padang Pyramid in West Java, 27,000 years, radiocarbon, it's 30,000, calibrated date. So obviously, between 30 and 40,000 years, we did have a lot of pyramid buildings. By who? Well, that's the next question. But obviously, if in Egypt we had people living thousands of years, and at the same time in Sumeria, the same case scenario. You, of course, know about the Sumerian king list. It is literally a piece of stone. It's a stela with the carved names and dates of ruling of their rulers. The first rulers came to Sumeria 233,000 years back. Alulim ruled Sumeria 28,800 years. Alajar, 36,000 years. So those first gods also, they were ruling until 36,000 years back for 25 to 35,000 years. And then we had era of lesser gods, as they called them. They were ruling 1,000 years each. And that period from 30-something thousand years matched exactly what we had in Egypt at the same time. So, of course, ziggurats and so on. So we did have those very, very advanced builders, intelligent beings on this planet, being capable of building such huge structures, moving, megaliths like in Baalbek, 1,250 when I was there 15 years ago. And the Germans were continuing digging. They found one which is 1,650 tons. We cannot move that from site to site, 1 kilometer. We cannot. We don't have technology.
So,
But yes, this is this time period.
So just to kind of understand who these gods were. You described the different ages, the humans, the demigods, and the gods, and you've talked about the Pleiades star clusters and the connection with the Bosnian Valley of pyramids. So, these gods that were described in the Turin's king list and in the Sumerian king's list, are you saying that they were beings associated with the Pleiades? Because a lot of people say, well, the gods described in the Sumerian list were Anunnaki. So, yeah, you want to describe the difference?
Yes, but the 13th planet that goes from one star system to ours, well, those gods, they do describe themselves. They came in a papyrus, clearly. They descended from kingdom of heaven to kingdom of earth. So it seems that we have been visited, as you know, much better than I do. Not by one, not by two, but by many visitors, by intelligent beings from different dimensions. And some of them, of course, they are looking for their interests, so we can describe them as bad guys. Some of them were kind of supportive, good guys. But most of them, I would say, they've been neutral. because that's probably one of the first cosmic laws. You don't really interfere with beings on the other planet. If they are to become advanced enough to join the group, to join elite club, to join the federations, they need to come to that level that they are consciously ready to join those advanced beings. Otherwise, if they are so violent, if they've been like us in the last 8,000 years, waging 15,000 major wars, hundreds of thousands of smaller wars, obviously we are not ready. If at this moment we don't talk through the art and the friendship and the spirituality, the healing and the help, sharing, but through the weaponry, through the blackmailing, through the unfair distribution of the planetary resources, we are not ready. It's not the point that somebody comes and tells you what to do. Obviously, in Sumeria, we've had such cases. Somebody was giving us law. For example, in the clay tablets, it's been described, that Sumerians, the human civilization, was given the formula how to organize political system, for example. Two-dome parliament, 5,000 years back. We have that today as the most advanced political system in the US, in France, in Germany, in Bosnia, in Italy, two-dome parliament. If they were given tools to do medical surgeries, if they were shown the star maps, for example, on one of the tablets, they are describing the distances from our solar systems to different stars in the Taurus star system. They have 1,000 stars. Like the distance from our star to that star is 95 light years. To that one, 120, 450. Why would someone in Sumeria need such information? So somebody was teaching us. How did we use that? Well, look at us today. We behave like the virus, which is uncontrollable. If we learn what our priorities are, like, for example, Mayan civilization or Anasasis, they were smart. Life is not about grabbing. Look at the US today. I spent 25 years in Houston, Texas. What they've been teaching me was consumerism. Get a better job, more money, get a bigger loan, buy a bigger house, bigger car, bigger, grab. And then what? When you're 70, 80, 90, you turn back. Why did we live? To grab? To have more material stuff? Does it make us happy? Of course not. Does it fulfill us? Of course not. So we need to look for the real values. So once we are ready, I would say, then we can progress. And that's the reason I said, probably in the universe, one of the major cosmic laws is not to interfere with different civilizations. Let them come to the certain level. But if they are too violent, they're going to destroy themselves. Well, their problem.
Well,
if you want, we can continue, or we can leave the purpose of pyramids for one of the future episodes.
Yes. I think maybe we should come back when we have a little more time. But I think maybe we talk. We can just jump ahead because this particular slide really interested me, right. and you discussed the scientific evidence and the measuring tools, but you discovered this energy being transmitted out. Yes. So you want to tell us about this?
Yes, Michael. We've realized that archaeologists, historians, geologists, they cannot answer what is the purpose of pyramids. We really needed the true scientists, people with the scientific instruments. If you can measure, you can scientifically prove. So we opened the project to physicists, nuclear physicists, quantum physicists, to engineers, electrical engineers, sound engineers, telecommunication engineers, people with the scientific instruments. We've had 5 different teams who came from 5 different countries, Croatia, Serbia, Italy, Finland, Germany, who came at 5 different times, who brought their own equipment, And at the very top of the Bosnian pyramid of the sun, they've measured the existence of this energy beam, which is 28 kilohertz in frequency, electrical in nature, ultrasound in nature, 4.5 meters, 13 feet diameter. It goes up, it expands to 20 feet, about 20 meters, 65 feet, 4.5, 20, 4.5, 20. It goes up, it's continuous. We measure it every season, fall and the winter and the spring and the summer. Mother Nature does not make energy beams like this one here. We measured other natural hills, nothing like that. When we sent the drone above the top of the pyramid, we realized that this energy beam is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Same frequency, but the strength in voltage is higher and higher. In science, this phenomenon is called the scalar waves or non-Hertzian waves. Our genius mind of Nikola Tesla 125 years ago was investigating this subtle phenomenon, concluding that the non-Hertzian waves carry the information much quicker than the speed of light. The Russian physicists in the last 50 years confirmed that. So, our first potential purpose of the pyramid energy is what is shown on this illustration, the communication device.
Wow, so that's interesting that this is a communication device. Now, are we talking about something which is superluminal? I mean, to communicate with the Pleiades, for example, 400 ways.
We wanted to find that answer. Where does this energy beam go? First, we thought, like on this picture, it's go 90 degrees to the sky. When we sent the drone, we were measuring this way. We sent it 1 meter above, it goes 50 meters left, right, back and forth. Another meter, back, forth, right and left, and then 150 meters above. So we've covered a huge area. In the morning, this energy beam was moved a little bit to the east. This is exactly where the sun rises. Noontime, south. Afternoon, southwest. Evening, west. This energy beam has been following the path of our sun. Does it mean that our planet communicates with the sun? It is possible. And then using the sun as the cosmic gate to communicate with other solar systems, technically it is possible. But then the pyramids are not only transmitters, they act as the antennas. They receive the information. So the information goes both ways. But then we can ask the question, all right, if it is communication device, planet is point A, where is the point B? Where is the point C and D? And who built this cosmic network or cosmic internet? Right now, I don't have a scientific answer. I can speculate only.
Okay, all right. Well, that's a fascinating possibility that the pyramid of the sun is directly in communication with the sun, which acts as a portal for communication with other suns and other star systems. That would be kind of like, as you said, an instantaneous communication system or close to it, because the Pleiades is 440 light years away. So you can't transmit directly to there; it'd take too long. But if you go through the sun, and that's a portal to the different suns in the Pleiades constellation, then you got a way of communicating. That's ingenious. Well, I mean, I really do need to finish, say, in 10 minutes. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of time to talk about the Ravne signals and the healing frequencies.
The first purpose of pyramid energy, long distance communication. The second purpose, we need to go to the underground. I mentioned 7 entrances to the tunnels. This is Ravne tunnel. Let's go to the next one. When you are inside, you breathe very well. Deeper you go to the tunnels, hundreds and hundreds of meters. We breathe so well. People with the respiratory problems, with the asthma, they breathe so well. After 1 week, they don't need inhalers, air pump no more. This girl from Slovakia, Veronica, she used to have very low lung capacity. She was using only 47%. For 3 years, she was trying all the products from pharmaceutical mafia. From the pharmaceutical industry. Nothing was helping her. She came to Visoko for 10 days, getting to the tunnels 1 hour in the morning, 1 in the afternoon for 10 days. She went back to Bratislava. She got measured. Now she was using 84%. That September, she came back. She was volunteering with us, pushing the wheelbarrow. The next slide. Team from Prague. This is medical nurse, 10 people, 15 different measurements from the blood pressure, the picture, to the glucose in the blood. We have noticed one visitation to the tunnels, it drops the high glucose in the blood. A risky group, you become normal group. If you are almost diabetes, normal. If you are high diabetes, it reduces for so much that after several times, you are at the normal level. And every year, Michael, we have hundreds upon hundreds of healing testimonials, pains, tumors, tinnitus, different problems with the people. We can see excellent improvement in their health. Even though we don't give medical guarantees, we are not in the healing business, but we measure. Inside, we measure 10 different energy phenomena. And let's go to the next slide. Let's see what's over there. Yeah, this is the sugars for diabetes. After a couple of times, it dropped to the normal level. Or this is the blood pressure, 220 over 135. After several times, it drops to less than 140 over 90. The next one is a doctor who was measuring the blood before the tunnel. After the tunnels, it is called the live blood test. He was checking the red blood cells and the white blood cells. That is shown on the next slide. And we can see bottom left pathology before entering the tunnels. And to the right, we have, again, healthy blood cells. So the next slide is showing the instruments that we've been using. Some of them are telling us that in the tunnels, there is no harmful cosmic radiations. Otherwise, right now, you and I are exposed to the cosmic radiations. They attack our body, and our body cells are fighting the enemies. There is no natural radioactivities. We are measuring that with the Geiger-Miller counter. There is no geopathogenic radiations coming from underground water flows. There is no signal for the mobile phones, very bad, burns our brain cells. There is no Wi-Fi signal. No harmful radiations whatsoever are present in the tunnels. And we have 5 more measurable energies. The number 6, the best frequency of electromagnetic field, 28 kilohertz, the best frequency of the ultrasound, the levitation frequency, 28 kilohertz. Number 8, very low, extremely low frequency of 7.83 hertz. In science, it is called the original Schumann resonance. Bring us back to the balance. Number 9, the highest level of orgone or life energy. In Eastern traditions, it's called prana or chi. And number 10, the highest level of the beneficial negative ions in the world. They clean our body from all microbes, viruses, bacteria, fungi. You put those 10 elements together, the tunnels becomes the safest and the healthiest place on the planet, and that explains hundreds of healing testimonials every year. Our conclusion, the second purpose of the pyramid energy is to protect what is the most precious to us, our health. The next slide is showing something. Okay, next slide is showing, who wants to know? Go back to the websites, please. Yes, BosnianPyramidHealing.com is showing different healing testimonials and my scientific articles published in the scientific journals about the healing, or my official scientific website, Dr. Sam Osmanagich.com, is having it all. All the scientific articles, all my books can be read for free, and so on. And let me finish with a few more things. The next slide is showing us the water. We have discovered 5 tunnels with the water, crystal clean and clear after thousands of years. We sent it to Dr. Masaru Emoto, late Masaru Emoto. On the next slide, we can see that the molecular structure of pyramid water is a beautiful hexagonal, which is also element of sacred geometry with the most wonderful, crystal-like structure. Unlike our city water, which is energetic, this water is energetically alive. It's happy water. It vibrates high. Our next conclusion, the pyramid energy was used to improve the molecular structure of the most important liquid in our life. It was used to improve the food. It was used to develop our spiritual senses. And look at this, Michael. We've been bringing the revolutionary change in the narrative about the pyramids. They were not built for one dead body, king or the pharaoh. They do not belong to the past, because this is what dogmatic science is telling us. They were built for the present and for the future, for the living communities, communication, health, water, food, spiritual abilities, blood, immunity, atmosphere protection, maybe even rejuvenation. And now let's bring this to the end. Since we don't have funding from the government, one of the ways was to open the project for the volunteers from all over the world. And young people and those who feel young at their hearts, they've been coming. In the last 15 years, more than 4,000 volunteers from 64 countries and 6 continents. They've been part of the discovery, finding the best quality concrete, like on this photo, the prehistorical tunnels, organic materials, a lot of artifacts. So they're becoming the part of history. They are our ambassadors. This is the most open project in the world. You and I are very well aware. We go to Egypt. Every second place they are telling us, you cannot go there. This is confidential. We cannot show you that. Why is it confidential? Egyptian pyramids do not belong to Egyptian government. It belongs to us, normal people from all over the world. It's a cultural heritage of all of us, Egyptian, Chinese, Peruvian, Mexican, Bosnian side. But we are the most open in the world. And let me now finish with the last slide. 20 years back, we started as the archaeological project. And then we have expanded to scientific aspect, energy aspect, healing, spiritual aspect. And this slide shows our beautiful park, Ravne 2. 10 years ago, it was muddy, neglected, swampy land. I spent all my US savings. I purchased the land. We transformed it into the most beautiful park in Europe. We planted tens of thousands of flowers and bushes and the fruit trees and the plants, and built 65 different installations. It has become a regional hub, regional oasis of culture and sports and art and true history and spirituality and festivals and concerts and what we eat and what we drink, the new concept of the future. What are the new Western values they've been offering us in the last 5 years from EU and from US? They are telling us transhumanism. So we lose our humanity. They are telling us upgraded human with biochip under our skin. They are telling us GMO trash, poisoned food, poisoned water, digital bank and digital central banks, digital money. Cash is a freedom. They are telling us pedophiles should be legalized so they can continue their orgies. Well, in the Bosnian Pyramid District, Michael, we are saying no to those values. The future of humanity is in harmony among us normal, good intentional people and harmony with our mother planet.
Well, that's really very inspiring, Sam, to hear that you're building a kind of intentional community there in Bosnia of people who are very much in tune with the energies that are being created there in the valley of the pyramids, and that you have so many volunteers. So you're clearly inspiring people. So people watching this, I mean, how can they help? How can they become involved?
First thing, let them come to Bosnia. Once they see for themselves, they're going to become our ambassadors. They will be talking, they will be spreading the word. And then eventually, people will start writing. They're going to start doing their, videos, social medias, spreading some more. Some of them, they're going to start volunteering. Some of them, they're going to start maybe and help with the donations. So it'll be one thing after another. More people here, more people we can influence, and we can raise global consciousness.
So people can just go to your websites there to get details on how to travel there. I certainly plan to visit. I would love to be able to come next summer. So that's definitely something I plan to do. So I want to thank you so much, Dr. Sam, for coming and sharing with us your latest research and the inspiring message you have to share. And you're building something. Well, you're not just looking at the past and what it has provided, but you're also building something for the future. So that's really very inspiring. So thank you on behalf of everyone.
Thank you, Michael.
Aloha.
You have been listening to Exopolitics today with Dr. Michael Salla. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Join or start a conversation in the comments. Take the time to explore the vast library of best-selling books, webinars, and podcasts by Dr. Salla. Visit exopoliticstoday.com.